We've got some
Boy, am
goddesses.
I in for it
Yay!
Wow. I'm completely outnumbered.
Benny, come out from underneath the desk. It's okay.
I'm shy.
Shut up. Where'd you go? That little shell is not going to protect you.
Oh. Oh my God.
Yeah.
Wow.
Okay, yeah.
Wow.
We're here.
We're here. It is, well, I'm Sue Lundquist, your host here, and it is the Gratitude Cafe. And we have got a very, very powerful, magical show that we are going to do today. If we can stop laughing, our energy is palpable. We have 3 Aries in the house. And
Pace yourself. Pace yourself.
Oh, I got to get myself grounded.
Benny, what are you?
I'm a Capricorn.
Oh, hello.
See, that's why.
Oh,
I had a
nicely
feeling.
done. Yeah, for sure.
I have
That
to
makes
wrangle all
sense.
y'all.
Yeah, exactly.
Right, yeah, all y'all. All y'all.
Yeah, all y'all.
All y'all.
He's going to keep it real, grounded. Real grounded.
I have a whip around here somewhere. I do.
Okay.
Wow. There it is. There it is.
Wow.
Get back to your seat.
Turning red awfully early. Oh,
Start
my
the
God.
show.
So good.
Right away.
Wow. Oh.
Okay, yeah, he's got it.
He's got it.
We've been
Okay.
tamed.
Gratitude Cafe. We are having just a delicious time. I've got some special guests in studio today, and we are going to talk intuition. But before we get started, I want to remind all of you about shedding those old beliefs, those old fears, relationships, and those experiences attached to the old habits. You will need self-regulating tools. You've heard me talk about that before. And those self-regulating tools are all a part of my Craziness to Clarity Template for Transformation course online, and also my curriculum that I teach when I'm doing one-on-one coaching. So if that is something that sounds good to you, you've got that little itch, that little inner knowing that says, yeah, you know what, I'm kind of riddled with anxiety. I've got other, questions about my purpose. Maybe you're burnout. Maybe there's a separation. Maybe you're an empty nester. Maybe you're wanting to attract a new relationship in your... I'm sorry, totally got distracted.
Totally.
Because they
busted.
pulled a card, and I'm like, of course that card would be the one that we had today.
Yeah. Sorry.
So let me go back to Craziness to Clarity, your template for transformation, and the Essence of You program. You can find that at SueLundquist.com/letter C, the number 2, and letter C. If you are joining us on the radio, thank you very much. If you would like to see us goofing off in studio, you can go to www.kknw or 1150kknw.com, and that's for the international people too. www.
I'm pointing to the camera.
1150kknw.com.
Both.
Wait,
and the
where?
camera
Yeah,
right
we're
there.
on
That's
that
the
one. Yeah,
camera.
that one.
The one with the red light on it?
Yeah, that
wish.
one.
No way.
We're not that cool.
Yes.
It's so secretive.
So, all right, guys. You know what? There's no rhyme or reason to this. We've got 3 goddesses in. We're just jumping in. This is it. This is us. This is us. Who's going to start? I'm not even doing formal introductions. I'm going to let you roll with it. Dr. Kim, roll, baby.
Geez. You
Yep.
pointed to me first.
I want to hear you singing.
Oh, yeah. I'm not
Yeah.
gonna. We've already. No, I'm not going to do that.
Okay. Well,
I am Kim Garland, and I am a psychotherapist, private practice, Redmond, Washington.
Yummy
And-
goddess.
Yeah, yummy goddess. Okay, I'll take that. And I actually co-host a really fantastic YouTube channel with
Me.
Hi, me. I don't know that anybody's going to be able to distinguish our voices. We all sound very Aryan. Not
Aryan.
Aryan. Not in that way.
Wait,
like
let's-
Aries.
let's
like Aries.
disclaimer.
Right. Wait, yeah, right. Not that kind of. Okay,
Not even
so
Aries.
anyways, Aries, yes.
My name is Jess Bubbico.
You could do your radio voice.
Oh, do your
can do my
radio
radio
voice.
We can all do our radio voice.
Hi.
Right? Well, what radio station are
See
you
what I
on?
have to put up with
Oh, my
this
God.
next 52 minutes?
Oh, my God, Benny, you're having a good
I
time.
need a break.
I'm imagining, like, what is it in Hercules where the guy's head lights on fire? He has
Right.
like a flame on his head. That's just like Benny's over there grounding.
That's why I don't have any
all
hair.
of
Burn
us.
it
Right,
off already.
exactly. We've already seen it.
All right.
And I'm having deja vu.
Oh, Of course you are.
Yeah. So my name is Jess Bubbico, and I'm an intuitive medium and intuition educator, and I co-host a lovely YouTube channel with Kim Garland. It's called New Understandings, and yeah, that's okay.
Okay,
That's
thanks.
okay. You
That's
can
what I
find
heard.
us on YouTube, New Understandings. We bring new perspectives to old paradigms. It's a lot of fun. We have some great guests on, and we just have a lot of fun.
You do, and you're in the right place now because it's new perspective, new thoughts, new ideas, a new you
all
right
new.
here.
Always.
Always. How do people get a hold of you?
You can go to my website.
This is Dr. Kim.
You can go to my at kimgarlandtherapy.com.
And you can find me on Instagram at Jess the Intuitive or justtheintuitive.com.
Facebook? No, Insta. We're going to do Insta.
So 5 years ago.
So 5 years ago. And Benny, how did they get a hold of you?
No, right here, 1150 KKNW.
If they wanted to call you, what would they call you on?
425
No way.
373 5527.
Whoa.
Bam.
Oh my gosh. Well done.
Thank you. Thank you.
So our show today is about intuition. Us three beautiful goddesses, and I'm just going to keep saying goddesses because I have the opportunity.
Because you can.
And because I
'Cause you
can.
can.
And we're here and together. We, honestly, Jess came in from out of town, and we're like, you know what?
Always out of
We
town.
three have
Yeah.
got to get
yeah.
together. The energy is palpable. The vibration is super juicy, and we are going to talk about intuition today. What that looks like, how you would feel in intuition, the how-tos, the purpose, when it would be applicable. I mean, I use it every day, all the time. So we're just going to jump in and have that conversation, and we're going to love on you, and we're going to educate you. And, we're going to go from there. And, Jess, I'd like you to start with this card that you pulled because that was a
Yeah.
squirrel moment for me.
Squirrel.
Of course,
Totally.
it's Isis.
Yeah.
Right.
Goddess Isis.
Goddess Isis.
Let's
Yes.
reframe.
Right.
Yeah.
So I actually pulled this out and brought it, and I've been carrying it around with me because the goddess Isis is the high priestess, and it's all about stepping into your power, stepping into your goddess, and she's just beautiful and powerful.
She is.
And I know this is, I was going to say, an energy that you are familiar with also.
So I want to tell that story really briefly.
Yeah,
but go
please.
ahead and talk about Goddess Isis.
Well, she is like the goddess of just like fertility, and she's amazing. So I want to give you the opportunity to chat about her. But
Well, okay, so Sardinia,
there
yeah, there she is. Sardinia, Italy. So many of the audience knows I was work with as a team leader for Dr. Joe. One of my first events was in Sardinia. And I remember in meditation, like you can see our reflection here from the different studios. I was looking at the reflection, and this image showed up, Goddess Isis. And I'm like, oh my gosh, she's beautiful. I'm like, oh, that's me. I had no idea who this person was. Jess was that last year? We were last year, and she showed me the deck of Goddess Isis. And I'm like, who is that? That is the woman that has come into my being. And of course it would happen. Everything happens as it should. And ever since we have been tapping in, and I have to tell you, since I've been working with her, it's been magical. But even more so than that, I have had 2 phone calls on my cell phone that says Egypt is calling. Pops up and it says Egypt is calling.
yeah.
Swear to God, it's crazy juicy. Yeah.
And there she is right
And
there.
there she is, and then she's showing up here. So
Yeah.
what are we talking about here? We're talking about guidance. Goddess.
Inner guidance.
Inner
right.
guidance.
Yeah, definitely.
You want to allude?
No, I mean, I'd love to start with Jess. Do you know much about intuition, Jess?
Ah.
I'm wondering.
I don't know.
Do you have anything to say about that?
Yeah.
Very elusive,
Yeah.
unknown topic.
So I teach all about intuition. That's what my whole business is. And, I am so grateful for my goddess witchy intuition sisters out here in Seattle because, intuition is something that since I was a kid, I mean, we all have access to intuition. Everybody's intuitive. Everybody has intuitive gifts. And, our intuition just speaks to us in different ways. And so I've been on a journey really since 2018, about a year of really listening to and following, I was teaching intuition, teaching people how to connect in, tap in, do intuitive readings, maybe even start a business using their gifts. And last year I took it to a whole new level, which is really learning how to follow my guidance and go where I am led. So I've been on a journey of listening, tuning in, following the next step where I'm led to go. And it's been pretty incredible. It's been an amazing year of not knowing what's next, but really divinely trusting that everything is showing up exactly as it needs to. And it's been incredible.
Define intuition.
Okay. So I define intuition as that which you know, but you don't really have any physical evidence of that it's true. So I might have a knowingness that it's time to go to, a coffee shop in the morning. The name maybe, we have all the different Claires. So maybe the name of a coffee shop pops into my head. Or Leavenworth. Or I hear it. Or I just know, I just have this knowing in my body. I'm like, yep, that's what we're doing today. That to me is intuition. Yep. It's something that comes into my experience without actually having any proof or evidence that it's like the next quote right thing.
Right. And trusting that, because I think that's a big one, because people are like, well, I get these little hits, but how do I trust it?
Yeah.
How do I build that?
Yeah.
Right?
Definitely.
Yeah, that's huge. And then the discernment. Go ahead, Jess.
I was going to say, I think I tell people, with me personally, and I know you all have different experiences as well, but it's like intuition. It's like flexing your trust muscle, because it's typically such a quiet voice that comes in, or a quiet knowingness, or a quiet sensation that's leading us to that next step. And it's only, I think, in really trusting it and continuing to understand how it speaks to you through your body that we can really develop that discernment, like you said.
Yeah, and how it speaks to you through your body.
Yeah.
And let's go back to that. Let's remember to go back to that. But I also want to talk about the clairs as well, because there's going to be tips and tools that we can talk about along the way. So if we could define, because there's different ways to have your intuition, not to have your intuition, that was the wrong language, but there's different ways to harness your intuition, discern what's coming through, whether it's a fear or if it truly is a knowing that you're having.
Yeah.
And defining that in your body.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would love to hear from Kim.
I was just going to say.
I know.
I feel you both looking at me.
I'm like,
I'm going deep in.
Yeah, go, baby, go.
I would love.
Go.
Yeah.
I know, yeah.
Well, I just wanted to back up for just 1 second, because I had written this down. I tend to take notes. And
Yep.
So I had written that intuition is our sixth sense, and that really allows us to be in alignment with our highest self. Thanks very much. And I think Jess really talked about that, which is what is our sixth sense, which is what's bringing us to these clair abilities, which is the abilities for us to be able to dial in through what we currently talk about from the materialist point of view, our five senses, are the things that we know that we can measure, but our sixth sense is really something of a felt sense. And clair abilities could be, clairaudience, which is hearing voices in your head, which is not hallucinating. Clairsentient, and clairvoyance. And these are just the various ways for us to experience things in an intuitive field.
Yeah. It's so interesting to me, because when I think about the clairs, they are your sixth sense that go through your five senses, the way I think of it. Because even there's,
well, wait, let's back up, because I hear the audience going, what's a sixth sense and what's a five sense? So let's back up and talk about, 3D, 5D.
Yeah. So if we think about the five senses, right, it's what? Sight, taste, smell, touch, hearing. So that's on a tangible 3D level. And in my experience, I just heard Kim say something next to me. And then if I think about, let's go to like the sixth sense, which would
love how
be
you said that, like,
right.
with their hands floating over her head, like, woo,
right? Like we're like, this is my knowingness, like how I know, but I don't know that. I don't know how I know. I just know this is next, right? It's like you might hear that, as Kim said, voice in your head,
right?
And depending upon who you're talking to, that might be okay or it might not,
right?
And it's like I might hear a voice which is one of the quote 5 senses, right? It's hearing, touch, whatever, but it's on a different level. It's a different frequency. It's not from this tangible 3D Sue sitting next to me. It's my grandfather or whoever it may
And
be.
it's a different, it feels different from a 3D. I mean, we're all in 3D right here. We're in 3D form, everything right here that's form. So when we get the intuitive hits, because there's intuition and then there's also when you're speaking to spirit and evidential mediumship. So when you're getting the intuitive hits or the you're talking to spirit or somebody that's crossed over, it is from a loving and how do I describe that? I mean, you can see me rubbing my fingers together like this, but it's like, how do I translate the essence? Because it's this soft, loving voice that's coming through, but it's like an essence too. It's like hard to put language around it. Do you guys have language around that?
Well, I think one of the ways I feel it is for sure goosebumps. You know, when you get the goosebumps,
Yeah.
that's
Yep.
definitely one of the tangible signs that you're having a conversation with someone and they're saying something and all of a sudden you just get goosebumps or
Boom.
chill bumps or you get really hot if it's not a hot flash and you get really hot or you experience something in a way that you wouldn't really say, I didn't hear those goosebumps. I didn't see. Your body is responding.
Jess?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm having this moment because I sometimes I get a little like sappy and sentimental, but
bring
I'm
it,
like
sister.
I'm having this moment because for anybody out there who is like kind of going through their own awakening of like I don't know, I feel like I'm waking up, and I think Sue and I have talked about this quite a bit, that the veil is very thin. I'm getting a lot of Facebook messages
big
from
time.
people who are like,
October, November.
I'm seeing stuff out of the corner of my eye and I don't know what it is. And like a lot of people who are really waking up. And I'm grateful for the two of you because I didn't really have a whole lot of, I mean, I have some mentors from North Carolina, but never really had women that understood in the way that, you know, we're doing this kind of work. So I think for anybody who's really kind of waking up to this, who feels maybe like, I don't know who I can relate to. I'm so grateful for having mentors and friends like you ladies because you've played such a huge role in my life. So for anybody waking up, if you need anything, reach out, please.
Yes, definitely. Yeah. For
Well,
sure.
I can share a tangible story about how
Yeah, let's do
intuition
that with
has
the
worked.
microphone,
Okay,
though.
let me. You can't hear me.
Yeah, Benny would be like,
What are you doing?
Yeah.
Here, let me eat the microphone.
Phone, yes, pretty
really
much, yeah.
awkward to have
Yeah.
it right up in my face. Not used to that. But how I would say my intuition showed up is probably about a year ago. I have a private practice and I had 4 different locations. And I'd always thought, oh, I've arrived. This is where I love these places. I love my colleagues. And then out of nowhere, I started to get agitated in these spaces, which was really surprising to me because here I thought, I'm home. This is it. I've arrived.
Right.
And little things would just really irritate me about, you know, pillows being moved or really
Yeah.
stuff that would normally not bother me. And my cognitive mind, one of my 5 senses, right, was to look at it and say, why are people touching my stuff? That's irritating me. Okay, that's how we can use our conditioned programmed mind to blame somebody outside of us for our own irritation. But really, because the mantra I say to myself is, I want what's in the highest and the best with grace and ease. It's an invocation to the energy. And energy takes some time, what we call time in
Here
this
in
third
3D,
dimension.
yep.
It takes some time to move, to slow down and to move into matter. But when you really have moved more and more and practice more and more into the sixth sense and the intuitive field, you actually can feel the energy before it's actually materialized. The way that we currently decode the sensation of energy is dissonance, and I feel agitated. It's running through a program. It's just a sensation that the energy is moving. That activates our survival mechanism, which is, oh, something in the grass is moving. It must be a snake. Better to perceive threat, assume guilt before innocence. I must kill it. And this is how we pull ourselves off our path all the time because we're constantly trying to control when we feel the energy moving to meet us. So I felt that this was coming. I'm starting to feel agitated. And so I've known that these things will just show up. I don't need to go and search it. I don't need to create a lot of distress or anxiety about where it is. In addition, I also had a 3-year lease I needed to sign in about a month. So I was like, I felt time pressure. So my mind was doing stuff, but my knowing self was in another field, right? So this is where people go, I don't know what to trust, right?
The
Which is what we're
discernment,
talking
yes.
right, exactly. And because I've been practicing this a lot,
And
I'm
it's
just
a
saying,
practice
I know.
audience. You have to practice.
It's like it's continually work. The practice, I would say, is tuning into yourself and being able to notice. I notice I am feeling what I'm calling agitation. I'm noticing that a script is wanting to run for me, which is to create some resolution with that thing that I feel agitated. So the moment I label it as agitation, then I run a script on how do I correct agitation. I take action. And whenever we take action, we are taking the wheel of the vehicle and driving it on our own path as opposed to this kind of in connection with our higher self path.
Massive awareness.
Absolutely.
And it's work. It's work.
I mean, that is,
That
the work is working with your programmed, how you have decoded sensation in your body, which has been passed down to us from a DNA perspective as well as from our cultural conditioning.
Yep.
Right? Which is like, we should be taking control of this. You shouldn't just sit back and sit in agitation. You should be.
Don't be in the victim role.
Right. Don't be. Well, that's how we're taught, right?
Yeah.
We're taught to be like, take the bull by the horns. Let's go get him, right?
Yeah.
And so, I had both going on. I also followed both at the same time because why not? So I went out and looked for an office, and I'm like, oh my God, look at, I'm so amazing. I manifested this. It's the most perfect location. And I was super excited. And then I don't know where that Valley Girl came from, but anyways, I'm just saying that's who manifested it, was the Valley Girl. And then, but I knew when I walked into that space, I was forcing it. I could feel the forcing of it.
That's important.
I could totally feel it. Like there
The
was not
force, the control.
There wasn't that feeling of ta-da. This is so. And this was probably a week before I was supposed to sign the lease, and I basically had to say, no, this isn't it. I know this isn't it. Which of course only activates my nervous system even more, saying, what are you doing?
What do you do? That nervous system.
So I made the decision to not sign the lease without knowing where I was going, which means I was for sure letting go of the space before I had a new space, right? So now I'm standing in this abyss. Like, well, I'm just trusting. So while I'm driving to one of my offices, I
The water
pass
parts.
by
The water
a
parts.
sign, an actual physical sign.
3D sign.
A three-dimensional
Equal
sign that says office space available.
Of course.
In a location that I had been energetically attracted to for at least a year. And I had no idea there was a clinic back there. I just knew it as a yoga studio.
Stunning
And
space.
it's really stunning. And I just drove back there, and as soon as I walked in, I felt it. So that's an example of all of those pieces, which is discernment, trusting your intuition,
Grace and
knowing
ease.
something is right. And it absolutely could have been so much easier had I really not listened to the Valley Girl voice. It's like, I'm going to make this happen. I can totally make this happen. But, I had to do both paths. For myself at the time, I was like, I can make this happen. But also really listening to, and this isn't it. And had I just stayed
and having
calm,
the courage of this isn't it, and being able to stand
just
in
being
your
able to say no.
Oof,
Just being able to
that's
say,
courage.
this really isn't it.
right.
I can feel this isn't that feeling, right?
And
Because I have visions of it.
metaphorically,
And
this
there's-
is an umbrella.
And there's the clairvoyance, which is I kept seeing little glimpses, and clairsentient, I kept like getting a feeling of what it would feel like before it actually showed up. And I kept getting little glimpses of images of how it was going to look before it actually showed up, little glimpses of it. And so then when I walked in, it was just like, oh, right, I remember this.
yeah,
This is it.
this is it.
Well, and that's what I wanted to say.
Jess,
So when
yes.
this is Jess. So I love what you just said. I walked in. So I walked into the first one, and I'm like, this is it. Like, that was the worst Valley Girl. Like, this is it. This
my
is
God.
the place. Oh, my God. I manifested it. I made this happen.
Right?
So when
my
you,
God. I
Benny,
know.
look at Benny.
I know.
We
The flames just went.
control.
on his head.
Yeah.
But so Kim, when you walked into the yoga studio, beautiful new space, and you said, this is it. what was it? Was it that it matched what you had been feeling?
Yeah, it was both. It was both the visual, how I saw it in my mind, how I saw it visually. There was a visual resonance. There was also a feeling resonance. When I walked in, I felt my entire body just kind of open up. And this feeling of like, I've come home, this feeling came, all of that.
Love that.
And then I heard doves singing in my ear. No, I'm kidding.
Okay. And with the dove,
Right, exactly.
we're going to take a quick commercial break. And when we come back, we're going to keep talking about intuition, how-tos, what it looks like, more tools, honing in, discernment, more stories, 3D, 5D. And you know what? A lot of the stories, you'll retain more with stories, obviously, but a lot of these stories are metaphoric for the bigger picture as well. Because your story, I mean, it can go across the board for so many situations, relationships or whatever. So when we come back, we're going to dive deep and giggle some more and have a good time. We'll be right back.
Take a look under your bed. Find stuff under there? What about jobs? No? Now try your basement. There's a pair of overalls that overall you're not so into anymore. A perfectly good laptop that hasn't sat in your lap in months. And even more stuff, but still no jobs? Well, you really have both. See, stuff is defined as household articles considered as a group. Sometimes this stuff is no longer needed. Wait, no longer needed? That can't be right. Because remember those jobs you were looking for? Those are really needed, and they're the stuff inside your stuff. Even inside that winter coat that moved with you to Phoenix. Our job is to unlock those jobs, and it starts when you donate your stuff to your local Goodwill. Here's how we do it. When you donate to Goodwill, we sell your stuff to provide job training for people right here in your community. So just by teaming up with Goodwill, you help create jobs. And isn't that worth parting with the leftover keytar from your 80s cover band? Goodwill. Donate stuff, create jobs. Find your nearest donation center at goodwill.org. A message from Goodwill and the Ad Council.
Do you make a positive difference in the world? Do you have a talent, philosophy, base of knowledge, product or service that you know could help a lot of people if only you could reach them? Join Alternative Talk 1150's family of broadcasters and start walking down a fruitful path. As host of your very own program, dial 425-653-1150 and find out just how affordable it can be to have a show on 1150 AM. That's 425-653-1150. Alternative Talk, we have an opportunity waiting just for you.
Hi, this is Dr. Joe Dispenza. I wanted to take a moment and let you know about a nonprofit organization called Give to Give. The Give to Give Foundation was created by a group of people who have studied my work or have participated in my workshops around the world. And by applying the principles of mind over matter and the mind-body connection, they've created outstanding changes in their lives or in their health, and they wanted to give back. The organization is dedicated to providing the proper resources to those people in need to gain the opportunity to learn exactly how to change their body or their lives. If you want to learn more about the Give to Give Foundation, or you know someone that needs help, or you simply want to make a donation, visit givetogive.com. Those who give don't always know how to love. Those who love always know how to give. Thank you.
Bored with the other stations, hammering away on the same old talking points? Try Alternative Talk 1150 and get some variety.
You're listening to an encore presentation of the Gratitude Cafe with Sue Lundquist. She doesn't know this one.
I like it like that.
She purposely left her headphones off for that reason.
And her mouth is like,
I totally
So
want my
wants
lips.
to.
I'm not gonna fall for it this time.
I really want to get her to sing, Benny.
Yeah.
Some-
Good luck with that.
It was beautiful. We could pull that clip up and
No, you
just
can't.
play it.
No,
Oh.
it's gone.
No,
it's white.
it's right.
It's so
It's not
awkward.
gone if
The
it's on
zombie
my watch.
apocalypse came and took it away.
Not gone on
The
my watch.
BlackBerry erased it.
Right.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. Oh my gosh. There's my kind of valley girl. Okay, so Sue Lundquist here, Gratitude Cafe. We are live on 1150 KKNW on the radio dial, and of course, www.1150kknw.com for all of our international peeps, and then, of course, SoundCloud and iTunes into the podcast arena after the live radio show. You can find more information at www.SueLundquist.com. You can sign up for the newsletter, get copies of your readings, because we will be doing reading. In fact, all of December for the holidays, because we want you to be connected with your family. Myself and Nadine will be doing readings every Tuesday to help you have healings and get connected with your loved ones in December. And if that is something that you want to do, please go ahead and call in. Oh, those two are laughing and giggling over there. What's happening?
We're doodling.
You're doodling?
She totally out-doodled me. She just went, meh, 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 meh. It was awesome. I'm like, look at that. What?
That showed the viewers.
What is that happy face?
That's a long nose.
It looks like Squidward.
It does look like Squidward. It does. Yeah. Oh, Benny.
Yeah. Okay. Woo. Keeping it clean.
Yeah.
Thank you, Squidward.
Okay.
Yeah, so intuition. So going back to, I will tell us, and Jess, you perfectly articulated that this morning. I kept wanting to go on a road trip. I wanted to take you into the fall colors. I wanted to, well, both of us, because it's just so beautiful. And this was Sunday, and you had some work that you were going to do. You guys actually had your podcast that you guys do. Remind everybody what that is.
YouTube channel, New Understanding.
New Understanding.
Yep.
YouTube channel, not a podcast.
That's okay.
That's okay.
Thank you.
Same.
Yeah.
Okay. So going back to intuition, and I kept looking and going, well, do I want to take her to Kingston and take a ferry? I'm like, nope, it's Leavenworth. We're going to Leavenworth. We're going to Leavenworth. Don't know why, but we're going to Leavenworth. And it's a beautiful drive, and it's gorgeous. And it ended up, and I didn't know this, and Benny probably did, but it was Oktoberfest, so it was crazy busy there. And it was funny because, you know, what happens with two empaths that walk through an Oktoberfest with a lot of saucy people. And both of us were
saucy.
We're like,
but yeah, and we met some cool people, and we were driving in today, and she's like, well, your intuition kept saying we needed to get to Leavenworth, and I'm like, oh yeah, that's right, duh. So there's times too where you forget.
Yeah.
You forget that that was an intuitive hit, and it's like that. Nope, it's meant, because I was forcing Kingston, and then I'm like, nope, way more grace and ease. It's that essence, that grace and ease, that just calmness. Yeah,
totally. I think, and I've seen this for myself, and like Kim was talking about, I think there is I have to make this happen.
Oh, the control.
The control. I've got to make this happen. I've got to push, even if it's not necessarily feeling right. Maybe it's the old program of this is how things go. It's supposed to look like this, whatever it may be. And there's that gripping on, it's got to happen like this, or I have to do this, or this is what, quote, makes sense. And then there's the surrender into, well, what actually feels good, which Kim has taught me a lot about, really sensing into like what feels good and expansive and feels like a yes in my own body.
Okay, can I'm going to back up, because this is where my curriculum comes in, with intuition, with Dr. Joe, with whoever is teaching you something. If you do not, if you don't have awareness, and if you're not clear on how you are showing up, you're not clear on what your body feels like, if you're not clear on what triggers you, if you don't already have that clarity, it's going to be really hard for you to then step into your own power and purpose and essence. So I'm not doing a shameless plug. It's just, it was and I could totally do a shameless plug, but seriously, that was my journey, because all of these incredible thought leaders and people, and my own empathic psychic stuff. And I'm like, well, I don't even know. I don't know what love feels like. I don't know how it feels when, if and I use this analogy. I was going over to a friend's house in the morning. I was feeling extremely nauseated as I'm getting in the car, and I was because I was going to go do a healing, just because I was guided to do it. And I went through my mental checklist, my 3D mental checklist, kind of like what you do when you have a baby. Is the baby need to be fed? Does the baby have to go to the bathroom? Whatever that is. And did I eat something that wasn't quite right? And why am I not feeling good? Where's my energy, right? So this is the discerning. I walk into said house for the healing. I was going in to heal Black Lab. The Black Lab had been up with diarrhea all night and had been completely just sick all night. So I'm like, oh, okay. So I was picking up the energy of the Black Lab. I kind of went off on a left tangent there, but that's totally okay. But I wanted to give an analogy, and you guys, audience, you've heard me talk about that, but really honing in and getting clear on who you are, how you're showing up, and what that feels like in your body, I think is the foundation piece. Girls? Yes? Dr. Kim?
Yeah, I mean, I think that was the last show that we did was Who Am I?
Yeah. Oh, powerful.
I mean, that's really the starting point, is really understanding your own frequency. And this kind of relates back to what you talked about. As an empath, you can be very porous and you can absorb somebody else's energy very easily. And one of the best ways to discern is to know who you are and to be able to really sit in who am I and is this mine? And then my ability to release what isn't mine. So that would be, definitely phase one in going into intuition, which is recognizing that sometimes you're picking up on other people's stuff, and that will create a lot of distortion for you.
Yes.
Because you cannot...
Distortion shows up as anxiety, fear,
Yeah.
all of that. I
Yeah.
just want to make sure the audience,
Yeah. So, I mean, I think the distortion field is the opposite of clarity. So how do you...
And that
when
right
you
there's a
think
good
about
tool.
Clarity. Yeah, when you think about clarity, it's about how do you get clear on who you are and then who you are outside of the way you've been conditioned to perceive yourself in this world, which is the programs that tend to get put into our cerebellum.
Jess, my love.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. To be honest with you, it's so funny because a couple of probably like 4 years ago, I was like, I don't believe in empathy. I just decided one day, I was like, I don't believe in it. And I couldn't believe in it more now because, I mean, I think it's innate to us. There was even some stuff Sue and I were talking about this morning. I was like, I'm feeling and experiencing this in my body. And it was something that Sue had been talking about it, having her experience. And I was like, oh, I'm feeling it. But I think sometimes even just that moment of pausing and going, is this mine? And calling attention to it can really be a powerful tool for discernment, is just stopping and pausing for a second.
And it's
paying
heightened awareness.
attention.
Yeah. If your head's in the sand, which is totally fine. If you're still in denial, totally fine. That's not a judgment call on any of our parts. And that's fine, because I know I walked in the clouds for years, because when you're in heightened awareness, you see everything.
Mm-hmm.
And then that means you stand in your purpose and you take accountability and you take responsibility. I want to go back to our conversation even before the full moon, because you and I both were feeling it. We were agitated, and I'm like, am I getting that off of you? You getting that off of me? We got two Aries in the house, and you're emotional, I'm emotional. We're just like, and then pop, the moon.
Yeah.
Yeah. Energy, frequencies.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Totally.
Sensing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was a lot of energy. But it's good.
Lots
It's
of
all good.
energy. Yeah. That moon was beautiful. There's lots of energy this morning, too.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Kim, you have something to add to that, love?
No, I'm staying quiet on that one. I have nothing to add.
Miss Jess?
I was going to say, I would love to talk about, Kim, something that's been super impactful from your work that you've taught me a ton about is around above the line, below the line, and understanding just even sort of basic for people to understand. Like you had been referencing right in the beginning around the pillows and that.
Look at that, baby.
I know, right? Above the line.
Yeah,
I love that.
Mm-hmm. But I would love, if you're open to it, for you to talk a little bit about above the line, below the line.
What did you say? The pillows?
Yeah, when you talked about the pillows being moved, and you said
that
it
right.
was
Those
frustrating, right? And
Got
how
it.
like your mind went into
Right,
that
sure.
distortion.
Yeah, I mean, I think we talked about this on Who Am I on the above the line and below the line, but essentially it's a model, it's a tool to really help you understand your location and
Mental.
know when you are in a distortion based off of how you're labeling your sensation.
Distortion, again, audience, if you're just tuning in, we're talking about fears, anxieties, all those below the line things that are emotions, triggers that are happening. Please continue.
That's okay. So using the example of what was happening with my office, that I see pillows being moved, my body was actually already feeling frustrated, a sensation that I labeled with frustration, judgment. I look around the room to see, why do I feel this way? Now I've already dropped below the line, and the reason why I've dropped below the line is because I've identified this sensation as frustration. And as soon as I've labeled this as frustration, my mind clicks in and says, why am I frustrated? I look around the room, I'm like, oh, that pillow's out of place. Or, somebody's moved something around.
Mm-hmm.
Or I can hear somebody in the office next door to me all of a sudden as if they had never been there. So my mind is looking for something to blame. It's trying to pin it on something.
Yes.
And so I'm dropping below the line, but the below the line drop happened when I very quickly labeled a sensation as frustration. And so the very same sensation is the sensation of, because I've invoked I want what's in the highest and the best, I've asked for me to be in alignment. When I say what's in the highest and the best, to be in alignment with my highest self. And in the alignment of my highest self, things are always changing, which means, my office is changing. And as I change my office, there are many things that are going to change with that. That's just one physical manifestation of representing that change. And so all of this is happening energetically. And rather than suspending the conclusion, the judgment of, I am frustrated because of this, I can label it as I'm frustrated. And then the script runs. So now I'm below the line, and then I'm taking action from below the line. And when I take action from below the line, I'm trying to eliminate what I perceive as the threats. People are moving stuff around. There's noises around me that are agitating me. So I'm, going to address my colleagues and say, why are you making so much noise? And they're like, why are you so uptight? Right? And then we get caught into a power struggle.
Yeah.
Right. And so now I've displaced, or I've redirected my focus to trying to resolve something that's not really causing me the sensation in my body. So my willingness to invoke the line, and the invocation of the line is saying, what else could this be? I wonder. I'm curious about this sensation. When you practice this enough, you know that for me, I recognize that sensation is happening again in my life, even though I just moved my offices this summer. It's happening again in my life, and I sit with that and say, I know more is coming because I've asked for it.
Yep.
Right, and it's being met
For your highest good.
That's right. So
And
when
then trusting in that.
that's right. And so when I invoke the line instead of what I was talking about before, which is I dropped below the line and moved into a distortion field, because now what I'm doing is I'm filtering all the information that's available out there into, this is a threat because this person did this. I'm eliminating all the other information. And now I'm directing my focus, I'm directing my energy towards that of which I have created that as the problem.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yep.
And then
And owning it and taking responsibility. And I want to address that because there's courage in all of that, and courage in owning and having that awareness, staying in that heightened awareness so you can see it, and being courageous enough to address it.
Yeah.
With compassionate, I call it the CC's, compassionate curiosity.
Right. Yeah. So my willingness to just know, I know this is my mind trying to create some sort of threat distribution, how to eliminate or soften the threat, which will only amplify it,
Yes.
right? Because now I'm just going to create a bigger fight. And instead to be able to say, okay, I know This is my mind running its script, running its program. I'm going to witness it. You can't exactly stop it. Oh,
Right.
stop doing that. And then I'm going to judge myself. Like, oh my God, I
And
can't
then
believe
it's a
I'm doing
spiral,
this. Right. And then I
it's
turn it on
oh,
myself.
gosh.
Right.
Yeah.
So instead of doing that, I can say, okay, I know, I understand what's happening. My mind's going to do what my mind's going to do. I'm going to be witness to it. I'm going to watch it. I'm going to feel that. I'm going to experience that. And I also know something else is coming.
Yep. And it's your nervous system. It's an old pattern. It's an old habit that's
Sure.
coming up. And I do all this with the team leadership and the activity leadership with Dr. Joe, and it is in my face every single participant.
Mm-hmm.
And watching them step through that old nervous system habit, and me being able to shine a light, me or any of the other leaderships, to shine a light and say, "Oh, are you rushing through this? Oh, wait a minute. Is this an old habit? Do you rush through things when you get scared and nervous in your daily life when you're back home?"
Right.
And male or female, doesn't matter. They just want to adrenaline rush through it because they're fearful or they're scared because there's an old program, they're below the line. And then at that moment, you can hold the space lovingly and say, okay, let's take some deep breaths. Let's look at that. Let's own it. And then let's release it.
Right. And I think it's being able to tie it back into intuition, which is how does this line model have to do with intuition? How does
Perfect,
distortion
thank you.
have to do with intuition? And when you're below the line, when you're in a distortion, you don't have clarity.
Mm-hmm.
And this talks where we're talking about discernment, right?
Yep.
Which is especially when I don't know if this is mine. I don't know if this is somebody else.
Bingo.
I don't know what's going on. I'm in the moment of chaos. Nothing makes sense to me. That's where we can say, I don't trust myself because I don't know what's heads, what's tails, who's what. I'm very agitated. I'm very angry. So when we're below the line, which is really dominant in our culture today, being below the line, how to perfect below the line, how to be the one who gets the power. So that's why intuition, I think, feels so foreign for people because we've been so deeply indoctrinated to exist and to play the game, kind of be in the matrix from below the line.
Let's talk about below the line. Let's talk about mannerisms, behaviors, habits of below the line so the audience can get a clear understanding.
Yeah, I mean, I think you're just saying it is habits. It is habituation. It is running patterns for yourself. But really, when you know you're below the line, it's just based off how you feel or how you're labeling how you feel.
How you're labeling how you feel, guys, based on an old program.
So, yeah, you could be angry, frustrated, blaming. You feel a sense of separation. You feel a sense of loneliness, depression, anxiety. There's a tremendous amount of, and actually there's a great book called Power versus Force. And that book actually talks about the frequencies of emotions. And there's a very distinct line.
Right.
Yeah, there's a very distinct line that he comes out with the frequencies of emotions. And that's a really great book and be able to identify where your emotions lie, whether they're above the line or below the line. I'd say that line that he shows in his model about what emotions, the frequencies of emotions, and I think it's at the frequency of 200 is when it starts to flip.
Yeah, I don't have the book on me. I'd have to go look.
Yeah, so I
Okay.
don't remember what the 200, 400, something like that. There's a line that he talks about, and those emotions really can help you map out. So one of the things, and this is on the YouTube channel that Jess and I did. I think it's our second episode where we talked about above the line, below the line, and the third episode, which played off that, which is limiting beliefs. If you're interested in knowing
Perfect.
more about it, and also David Hawkins. Power versus Force really kind of gives you a little bit more if you're wanting to figure out how to fill in your particular model of above the line and below the line.
Remind them how to get a hold of your YouTube, where they go.
It's YouTube New Understandings, right?
Yeah.
Or
Okay.
just go to my website or
And I will post it. I'll post it with the radio show just
Yeah.
to make sure we get
Yeah.
that information when we
Yeah.
get back to the office. Yeah.
you're drawing hearts.
Yeah, I'm just in my vibe over
Yeah,
here,
you're in your
listening to what you're saying
down.
and
Yeah.
processing it.
Yeah, so that below the line distortion field is really what interferes with our ability to trust our intuition, to have clarity about our intuition. So really using, I'm sure, any of Sue's tools, as well as, the line model tool, is to help you gain clarity about who am I, and in the who I am, being able to discern I can trust myself now that I'm clear on who I am and how to really listen to my own inner guidance, my own inner wisdom, and my own kind of GPS that's within myself.
The GPS, the navigation system. Oh, yeah.
Definitely.
For sure. Jess, we got a few more minutes, babe. Do you want...
I'm just thinking about what you're saying, Kim, or feeling into it, and the idea of continuing to, I think there's a lot out there on like how to connect with your intuition and different teachers and different things like that. And what I love that you're saying is this, it's almost a simplification of what's in my highest and best, and that which doesn't align, maybe doesn't feel good, that this office doesn't feel good. And yet, if I keep reminding myself highest and best, then perhaps it doesn't feel good because it's trying to leave.
Mm-hmm.
And so I love the simplification of even having, I don't even call it a mantra, affirmation, line, and anchor, I guess, the anchor being whatever is in my highest and best, and continuing to anchor into that. I love that.
Right.
Highest and best, grace and ease.
Yeah, you like to add that grace in.
Oh, yeah, because
No, it's
we
really
don't
good.
want grizzly bear. I would prefer to have butterflies. I'm done with my grizzly bears.
Well, and I think it's important, and Jess and I had, on our new understandings, we had Mike Watson on Saturday, and we were riffing on this a little bit, but and I had just gone to a conference or a workshop at Multiversity 1440 a few weeks ago with Dan Siegel, and we were talking about stress resilience, and I love Dan Siegel
Yes.
and Alyssa Appel, who wrote The Telomere Effect. They were both co-teaching. And one of the things, though, I recognize that pervasively in our culture right now is that in order to evolve, in order to grow, we grow through pain, we grow through suffering. That's the dominant model of today. And so the whole idea of stress resilience is our ability to have enough resilience to evolve through that. One of the things I've been playing a lot with, both with myself personally and with my clients, is there is another way, which is grace and ease. You don't have to just grow through pain and suffering. You can actually do it with a lot of gentleness. And it is about creating self-awareness and really...
There's such that heavy program, though. Oh, it's
is.
got to be hard. Oh, I got to drive.
Yeah, absolutely.
You don't.
Right. And it really is bringing in the divine feminine. That's really the divine feminine. And then, of course, there's the divine masculine, which is knowing when to take action, the time to take action.
Yep.
Right now, we're living in the dark feminine, the dark masculine, and it's about manipulation and about power struggles.
But you can also take action from above the line in the loving,
absolutely,
beautiful manner.
that's divine
Yep.
masculine.
Yep.
Being able
It's beautiful.
to, it's being able to take the action. So for me, taking the action was one, saying no to that one office.
Yes.
And knowing when to take action to say, yes, I'll sign the contract for this office because this feels good to me. Or taking the action to say, oh, gee, there's a sign. I'm going to pull off the side of the road and I'm going to go in and look at this office.
Office is, I'm literally
Weeping
right there.
Willow.
Oh,
Remember the Weeping Willow?
That's right. I'm
I know. That huge Weeping Willow in the front.
Just
And the
incredible
glimpses
space.
that came before, which I think even Jess had, when Jess and I were we had a call one day and she goes, oh, I'm seeing this. You remember what you'd seen?
Yeah, the trees.
You'd seen the trees and you'd seen this wood building, like a brown siding wood building. She, that she had seen this, she kind of tapped into my field and said, oh, I see this office space. So kind of her own precognition and her clairvoyance was coming in. So we do get those visions. And one thing I wanted to add was I highly, highly encourage people, don't try this on your own. I highly encourage to work with
point,
guides
Mom.
to get
Man.
support. And really it's about getting support and guides from people who can hold the line, not the ones that will reinforce, oh, you poor thing, I'm so sorry.
Oh, my heavens.
That whole,
No.
he's such a, beep, 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 beep.
No.
not swearing this time, just so we know.
I
I stopped myself.
Benny appreciates
Yeah,
that
I know.
too.
It's great.
All right, girls, we have
Goyles.
Goyles. We have just a couple minutes. Remind people how to get a hold of you. Jess, hit it.
Jess the Intuitive on Instagram or jesstheintuitive.com.
KimGarlandTherapy.com.
Woo! Lundquist.com. Ah, what an incredible show. Benny, thank you, my love.
Welcome.
Thanks, Benny. You got real quiet on us.
I know.
letting
He was
you ladies
always
have a moment.
he was like, he curled up in his shell real well. He's like, I'm not here.
I
I'm
know
not
when
here.
to be quiet.
I'm not stepping in the middle of that.
Let's go play. Hey, guys, seriously, do you want to play in the quantum soup of our love? Ooh, that sounded good. The quantum soup of our love. We'd love to educate you. We'd love to help support you. And from above the line, we've got the tools, we've got the practicality, and we'd love to take care of you. For more information, go to SueLundquist.com, and we will see you, or I will see you next week. But until then, each of you are a gift. Get out there and share yourself with the world.
If you like the show, help more people find us by adding your review of the show on iTunes. The more reviews we get, the more people we can reach with this inspiring message on the Gratitude Cafe. Simply search for Gratitude Cafe in iTunes, hit subscribe, and add your honest review. It would help us immensely and will be forever grateful. It's one of the best ways you can give back to the show with your review. Thanks for tuning in to the Gratitude Cafe. Don't forget, every week is a new show, and you could submit your questions at SueLundquist.com/Gratitude Cafe. The show goes live at 8 a.m. Pacific Standard Time in Seattle on Seattle's Alternative Talk AM 1150. You can also call in to the show at 425-373-5527 or 888-298-5569. Find the live streaming link at SueLundquist.com/Gratitude Cafe. We'll see you next week.
The views expressed on this program are those of the host, guests, and callers, and not